3, 2, 1. Happy New Year. Hey there, world. Here's to hoping you're all staying free of UFO abduction, safe from all conspiracy, and find yourselves healthy and alive, devoid of having been murdered. To start this year off right, we figured we would throw just, the worst of the worst at you. I told Chris after the Junko episode we needed a palate cleanser, and that palate cleanser is going to be a quick how do you do of the worst possible fucking thing we can find. Who knows, maybe we'll go a little more in depth with these stories. I know I probably will. But for now, just know that this episode's to test your mettle. But to start it out, I figured I would let you all in on a story. A story about the worst day I have ever heard of. For the protection of the innocent involved, let's just say that the main character in the story is me. Because it was. Now, since my mom listens to this podcast, I'll have to omit some details. The details themselves not being the important bits, but let's just say myself and two friends, both with the same name, both starting with the letter J, that's not Jason. We decided to take a trip to Canada, where I had recently spent some time. As three young 20-somethings in the land of beautiful Canadians, cheap monopoly money, and substances aplenty, we partook in our fair share of each. You'd be surprised what the admission of being from New Orleans can do for a young man in America's fancy hat. We were treated like rock star royalty, having only ever been middle-class losers, offbeats, and fucking wannabes, in truth. Having completed our stated mission, our last night was to be the night to end all nights. Admittedly, probably not the greatest idea when planning to leave before noon the next day to beat the checkout overcharge. Well, you know what? Let me back up for a second. The night before, when we found ourselves around the point of maybe like 11, we're from a city that literally doesn't sleep, and we're starving. We look up, down, and sideways for even a fast food joint open late enough to satiate. Then we saw bright neon lights in the form of a sushi restaurant. I can't for the fuck of me remember the name, so I'm not even going to try. The place was empty, but the lights are on. We're just so exuberant that we'd found something to fill our tum-tums for the meantime that we park and excitedly speed walk to the door, which we fling open, step inside, and then the young Japanese man, well, I guess most likely Japanese-Canadian, he explains to us that they're not actually open. He's just preparing for their grand opening the next day. We tell him our sob story of having just driven 10 hours through Winnipeg, which, seriously, is nothing more than car graveyards and hayfields. And if we didn't get some raw fish down our gullets, we would drop dead on his dining room floor before he could even open in earnest. We tell him where we originate from and that we're due back the day after next. Hearing this, a large smile illuminates his face. The next 2 days are all a bit foggy, but this I remember as clear as if I'm hearing the words right now. The young man, no more than 6 years our senior, stretches his arms out and says, "Have a seat at the bar, boys. I've got you." We sit down and we pick up menus, which he promptly rips from our expecting hands. He looks us dead in the eyes and says, "I got you." What follows is the most delicious, so fresh it's still got a fucking soul, 12-course tasting menu that you can only dream about when you dream inside your dreams. Now, we had plenty of money on us. You know, you tend not to make trips to other countries with pocket change. But when done with this delectable meal, the kind man asks for nothing. We take money out of our pockets and we try our best to force it into his, and he says, "No, my friends, I've got you." On our way out, after so much gratitude that the place really must have reeked of it for weeks, he stops us once again. He says, "You know, this restaurant's connected to a nightclub that's also slated to open tomorrow. Give me your names, and when you come tomorrow, you'll have a VIP booth, and you'll not pay a penny." Now, like I said, we're all still very young. I myself was 20, and at the time the other two J's were 21 and 22 respectively. We took this invitation, and I just know that we took it so fucking hard. I can only remember short flashes of the evening, and every time I do, it never fails to make me envious of the Jason that I was that night. Now, I shouldn't have to tell you that 3 hard-drinking, hard-smoking, hard-everything boys from New Orleans, given a bar tab in the VIP section of a swanky grand opening Edmonton downtown club, didn't go easy on anything. We invited all and any into our space, and the $150 bottle service that we weren't allowed to pay for flowed like the blood of so many Spartans at the hands of the Persians. One thing led to another. One meeting led to more. I don't know how we got there or how it was decided to do so, but you have to remember that raves were all the rave in the early 2000s. So we hit up a few of those. As the night went on, they got smaller and seedier. I'd like to say that I didn't fall into the trappings that trap music can spring, so let's just say that I said I would like to say that. One thing led to another. One meeting led to many more. And no matter what, our night would have exhausted anybody and probably killed a few. To our hotel room, we seemed to teleport, as I dare not remember the drive there, nor do I wish to imagine which of the 3 of us was captain. We had preparation to do before our expected expedition began in 4 short hours. So, I, being who I was and am currently, promptly pass out. I wake up hours later with the other 2 J's sweating profusely. Job done. We then make haste to the one border crossing I knew of in Alberta that at the time just needed a friendly smile and a wave to gain re-entry into the States. Well, our timing was a bit off. And by a bit, I mean 4 hours. The tiny crossing closed. We went in search of a hotel, of which the time and place produced none. Running low on gas, we looked for an open gas station, of which the time and place produced none. How the rest of the world falls asleep at 8 p.m., I will never fucking know. So we find the one and only open establishment we can, Lethbridge Hospital's emergency room. Now, that name I remember well. We all slog in, half out of our minds on exhaustion from lack of sleep and girth of mind-altering mind-alterers. I, being familiar with the local ways, was elected nearest gas-getting asker-forer. I tell some other sob story with, I'm assuming, quite a few exaggerations. One of the lovely ladies attending station knows personally a local farmer that happens to own his own gas pump and says she's willing to make the 3 a.m. call on our behalf. After she takes care to calm the salt-of-the-earth horticulturalist, I don't really remember what he grew there. Let's just say it was salt. He agrees to the late-night rendezvous. Directions received, then promptly forgotten, then retold, then received again, then forgotten, then asked for again. We were given a hand-drawn map with pictures for reference. After a boring drive past what seems like the entire world's supply of absolutely fucking nothing, we arrive at what can only be described as the pre-baseball Diamond Field of Dreams field, if only looked after by Leatherface and his eccentric clan. And if I catch any of you describing it in any other way, I will fucking cut you. I swear to God, I will cut you. So we snake along the winding road, we think. I mean, it's like being lost in a corn maze with the slight benefit of being stuck in a Lincoln full of dude funk and the same goddamn early aughts Eminem album on repeat. We pull finally up to Farmer Frightening's farmhouse. He steps out, spits on the ground, and makes his contempt for the 3 douchey city boys before him just absolutely clear with one look of his weathered, furrowed brow. He wordlessly walks up to his beat-up truck and drives off. We intuit that we should probably be following him, so we do. After what seems an eternity, we arrive at a hand pump. He wordlessly fills our tank, and we ask him how much we owe him. Thinking some insane amount, we just prepare to empty our pockets of every last loony and toonie. He gruffly says, $5, with a drawl that I'm pretty sure he alone possesses. We hand him 20, and we get the fuck out of there. Nearing 4:30 a.m., we make haste to the nearest and only open border crossing that my recollection can recollect. The crossing's hours away, and we're all feeling the stress of rockstar living at this point. Like a household of ladies whose cycles have synced, we all feel the powerful urge and need to relieve our bladders. With being in what we could only assume was a literal fucking ghost town, not a soul was seen. I mean, we couldn't have gotten arrested if we had set up a coke snorting machine designed for little tykes, accentuated by obnoxious spotlights and preceded by a 3-week radio, television, and billboard ad campaign. We stop at the first gas station we see. Closed, of course. But we all jump out like we're afraid to pee ourselves like expectant 4th graders, because that's exactly what was about to happen in seconds. We all, in a show of solidarity and defiance of the puritanical system in place, urinate on the front door of the closed Canadian petrol shop. While relieving and being relieved, I say, I've been napping long enough and it's time I take the wheel. The Jays agree and we continue our disgusting sword fight. But then the unexpected kind of happens. Jay number 1 finishes his stream and walks back to and gets into the driver's seat. I, lying about napping long enough, decide a longer nap's in order, so crawl back into the warmth of the toasty backbench seat. To this day, I haven't a clue of the time or distance traveled from the time I dozed to this new second. Jay number 1 must have been in a rush to get back to his home soil, and so he set the 2-week-old car's cruise control at 95. He was also obviously absolutely in a rush for a meeting with the Sandman. I awoke to the feeling of weightlessness. My body lifting off the seat brought me consciousness long enough to say, "Oh, fuck," out loud. My head slamming into the rear passenger interior door panel took that consciousness away just as quickly. Once again, not a clue the time or distance between then and this brand new second, but I now awoke in the massive field in between the interstate roads. Snow covered the expanse. I was well underdressed for the occasion. T-shirt and jeans were not recommended. Lifting my bloodied and battered head, I see off in the distance the car that had been our only lifeline home that was now settled upside down. The compartment that I had occupied crushed to nothingness. I smile. Had I not been thrown out of the rear windshield, I wouldn't be here right now for you guys to love. Feeling numb from the cold and trauma, I attempt to stand, to walk, to go check on the Jays. But I instantly fall back to the earth. The feeling like the bones of my ankle had been replaced with fine-grained sand just overwhelms me. So I do the only thing I can anymore. I scream for my friends. I receive no reply. I scream a bit more. Receive nothing more than the sound of the rear tires still spinning at 95. Then Jay number 2 unbuckles and falls to the ceiling, then crawls out. Still no reply. After a time, a family minivan stops and out steps the only angels I'll ever believe in. A family of native Canadians. The care and love they showed complete strangers moves me to this day. A blanket for mangled me, a warm seat for Jay number 2. Jay number 1 finally pulled out of the car. I overhear raspy, muted exasperations, and then I overhear the hushed voices of the oldest men of the family. He's trying to say something, one says. He can't breathe. There's just too much blood, says the other. The ambulance is here now. Strapping a screaming, freezing Jason to a hard plastic board is a task I wish on no one. Jay number 2 is ushered into the back next. His face and head just bloodied and swollen. Still no response. The drive to the hospital it seems to take forever. Every bump, my foot just wants to tear off its bloodied stump. The EMTs seeing this say that just please let it out. I would have made a whole Voltron of sailors blush that night. It was at Lethbridge Hospital's ER that we learned for certain that J number 1 is dead. His many broken ribs puncture his lungs, which caused them to fill with the wet red stuff. He drowned in his own life liquid. It's at this place that I find the extent of my ouchies as well. I'll never, and that's never with a capital fuck you, Jason, walk the same again. I joke with the doctor that my anger is really just about knowing that my high jump career is over. Which, you know, if you had seen me at the time, it was funny. You really had to be there, I guess. But it does seem that I had the Mozart of bone doctors, because, fuck, I wish that I got half of the longing looks that my x-rays do when other doctors see them. I won't go any longer with the hospital stay or the ride home, which is... that was another saga completely. I ended up in a wheelchair for a year and a half and on crutches for more than half a year more. Learning to walk again at 23 was a fucking blast, let me tell you. So was the severe opioid addiction I developed that I've only very recently kicked. You know, my doctor was right. My life, it hasn't been the same since. Blessing in disguise, maybe. Then again, maybe not. But, I mean, I like me well enough today. So, enjoy us now being silly about other people's... Oh, fuck, it's so bad.
I go out every night and sleep all day. Since you took your love away. Since you've been gone, I can do whatever I want. I can see whomever I choose. I can eat my dinner in a fancy restaurant. But nothing can take away these blues. 'Cause nothing compares to you.
And hello and happy new year, and hope everybody had just the merriest of all holidays, mostly Kwanzaa, because, you know, Kwanzaa it gets a bad rap. I don't know why,
Yeah.
you know, but
I don't even really know what Kwanzaa is, to be honest. By the way, I'm sorry, I was silent there. Hi, kids.
yeah. See, the thing is I don't think anybody really knows what Kwanzaa is. I mean,
What religion? Is that Jewish?
no, that's the, that's Hanukkah. That's the one with the terrible chocolate and the awesome game with the top.
Right, so is Kwanzaa Muslim?
You know, we're gonna get off of it because there's no
Those
way
are the
that
only
either
other
of us
two
know.
I know.
Is Jewish and Muslim? That's
Right.
it? Okay, that's fair. That's totally fair. But yeah, we hope everybody had a great time, with or without family, with or without loved ones. We just hope that, as I said earlier, that, you know, we hope that none of you were abducted, unless you had fun being abducted, of course. We don't judge. We don't judge.
That's true.
Well, I mean, we
For the
judge
record,
constantly, but,
I missed you all. I wasn't doing anything. I chilled by myself.
See, that's weird, because the whole time, you kept sending me messages like, thank fucking God we don't have to deal with those goddamn jokers. It's like, I'm so fucking tired of them. They're just so needy, and they just want and want and want, and hands are out, and pockets are out, and, ugh.
You know. I wish we'd have gotten some messages from the kids at home.
Hey, you know what? I'm gonna shout out your buddy there, Robert, that tends to like things and tends to like to talk from time to time. Hey there, Robert.
Thanks, brother. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure, buddy. He's
been a while.
He's the one person that we know for sure that's not my mother that listens to the podcast.
Yeah, well, I used to work with that guy. He's a good dude.
He seems.
I used to work for that guy, actually.
Oh, even better.
Yeah, he was my boss.
Seems like he does seem like a good dude. So let's stop sucking his cock and get on the topic at hand, which is hello and welcome to another episode of See No, Hear No, and Speak No.
The UFOs, conspiracies, mice playing tubas, which you guys missed, and murder.
Chris has a little mouse that runs around in his truck cab and plays tuba whenever he eats beans.
He does, yeah. And I'm trying to remember when the last time I ate beans was. I think it's just because I've been eating salads for the last 4 or 5 days. I stopped at the store and got some.
Got some salads. Got some salad.
Yeah, my
salad
girl
brand
said
salads.
it's really not a salad. It's just a head of lettuce and a bunch of fixins. Because I don't really eat vegetables like that, but I call it a salad. It's roughage some kind of way, damn it.
Hey, there you go, man. You got to clean yourself out somehow. I usually do that with methamphetamines, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, whatever's clever. Just so you guys know, though, salads create mice with tubas.
Just
in
out
your
of the
butt.
ether. They just right
In your
there,
butt.
and they will not be your friend. You can
This is
try.
true.
You can try to give them cheese. You can try to trap them humanely. It will not work. This mouse is there to work, and that is it. That's
Yeah,
it.
it's some bullshit, but I mean, what can you do? You just gotta expect it and plan for it. It's all you really can do.
So, in the intro that I've already written, because holy fuck, are we late with this episode? I mentioned
Sorry,
that this week. I mean, fuck, man, it was the holidays. We need a break too.
It
you
was
know?
a weird one. I
we-
had plenty of time, but
put out 2
Jason
episodes.
almost never does.
I have family and a lady friend and animals
God.
and sometimes I work. I mean, it happens.
Fucking people in your life and stuff. God.
I mean, I hate them too, Chris. Believe me, I hate them all too.
Well, your mom just heard you say that.
Well, she knows that it's a joke, right,
Hi,
Mom? Wink. So, since the my little Junko episode got such a good response as far as people wanting to listen to it, and that previously had been the most fucked up thing I'd ever heard in my entire life. I wanted to do something.
Pretty fucked up.
I wanted to do something special for our very first of the year little podcast here, and this is probably gonna be a little quickie. We don't know how quick because you know how we are. So, what I brought to Chris was, Chris, I want you to find the most fucked up thing that's ever happened, ever, and talk about it, and I'll do the same. So, all we know is that neither of us have the same story. Other than that, this is what it's going to be. And right now, because this will not be a walk in the park, flat out. But, I mean, our listeners, I guess, we're adults, most of us, except for my nephew, Caleb. Hey, Caleb, how you doing, buddy? Do not tell your mother that you listen to the podcast. We can all be mature about this. We can talk about terrible, horrible, no good, very bad things, and be okay with it as people. We can go about our days not having
Indeed.
been scarred by terrible detail of horrible, horrible things.
I don't know,
But
dude. Junko was a tough story to get through without it resonating
I
in you.
fucking cried after I read that fucking thing for the recording.
It's so intense. By the way, can I just put a little addition in there, which is
Please.
more of a correction. I believe what you had said to me, if my ridiculous memory serves me correctly, is that you wanted me to look up the most fucked up single murder I could find.
I did, but
And
then you were having trouble with that.
I really was. It's kind of it's a hard thing to find somebody that only killed. A spree killing, I don't know if that really counts as a single murder, you know what I mean? Like, maybe a
it's all
whole
in the
family
same
at a time.
Right, okay,
or,
yeah. So if it was a
that would
household,
make
then
sense.
yeah.
But I mean, it's hard to find things that aren't just as simple as, fucking firing a gun on a bunch of people. I mean, that's fucked up. But
Indeed.
when in the spirit of the show, when we say fucked up, it's got to be fucked up.
Indeed.
So I mean, I couldn't find anything that suited my taste and my level of what I would like to bring to you guys. Based on that criteria. So. Yeah, but what I brought, I believe you guys will like. So, continue.
Awesome.
I apologize.
No, I mean that's basically it. Is Chris is going to go first, and we're about to hear his story, and then we'll hear my story, and then we'll probably bullshit some more, and then outro music.
Now, for the record, again, I know your story.
Yeah, because I was like, you fucking picked this goddamn story, and I swear to fucking God.
Well, I mean, I had discovered it. Actually, my brother told me this story fucking years and years ago.
It's so
And then I
terrible.
wound up finding the actual documentary on it. And yeah, it's worse than what he even told me that long ago.
Just so you guys know, we will be doing a full episode on my person, because holy shit, there's a lot that I'm leaving out, and I'm just gonna give like the fucking the prime tip, just fucking perfect, just oh my God, I just want to stick it just barely in, just barely enough to get you going, and then sooner or later, most likely later, because we've never, no, have we? No, we've never come back and done something that we said we were going to do, Chris, ever.
No, not yet.
Not
yet.
once.
But we're
Not
still
once.
we're still kind of in our infancy. And you know what? To be honest, I mean, you're both of our people are so fucked up. I'm kind of curious of like, can we do a poll sort of scenario? Can you tell us who's more fucked up?
If we could get other people, other humans to speak to us ever,
Yeah,
in
that's
any
what I
way,
mean.
then yeah, man, I'd be down as shit. You know what, people? I don't know, fucking throw rocks at Chris's truck and or eggs at my house. Whoever gets more wins.
Cool. So let's get into this.
Let's do it.
1955 is the beginning year, and like I'm gonna glaze through a good bit of this because we're gonna make it a double. So
Brevity.
1955 is the year Big Joe Metheny was born.
Oh, you in trouble when you just meet a guy named Big Joe Metheny.
Oh, and yeah, he's even got meth in his name. I mean, he didn't do meth necessarily, but anyway.
This guy
he's a
created
big
meth,
dude.
didn't he?
He's a big dude. I wish it was that spectacular. Adding that to what actually is in this story would be just amazing.
Okay, so
But no,
1955.
1955.
Big
yeah.
Joe Metheny.
Metheny, yes. One of 6 children. Dad died in a car accident when he was 6, leaving his mom with 6 kids to struggle her ass off being a waitress and all manner of things that a lady could do at that time. Now, as far as childhood goes, Joe will claim that, or Joe did claim, random neglect and things like that, that he claims that he was in and out of foster homes. His mom claims the exact opposite, actually claims that he was a good kid. He was a generally passive, nice, rule-following type of kid.
Yeah.
Until 1973, when he's 18 and he joins the Army and gets sent off to Vietnam and claims to have acquired a heroin addiction.
Claims? I mean,
Well,
were you allowed into Vietnam without a heroin addiction?
that's a good question. An addiction of some kind.
I know for a fact that you weren't allowed out of Vietnam without a heroin addiction, so...
Yeah, that's more like it. That's
Oh,
more
it's
like what
rough.
actually the case was. Yeah, it's pretty fucked up.
Support our troops, people.
Yeah, so
Support
they
their
don't
heroin
get addicted to
addicts.
heroin. Hang on, this might be loud for a quick second. I forgot. Okay, there we go. I forgot that little window was open, and it's fucking cold outside. So, yeah, so after he gets back from war, he meets this chick who he's with for quite a while. I don't guess he ever married her, because anything like the documentary that I saw on him just keeps saying his partner. So,
Gotcha.
I guess they didn't really get married, but they did have a kid, and up into quite a while. He didn't really have much of a criminal record other than a little bit of drunken disorderly and stuff like that. Nothing too serious.
Like Rambo First Blood type stuff without all the killing.
Without all the killing, right?
Just being a guy that the government just abandoned. He fought for a country and he came back and what's there for him? Are there any
With
parades?
heroin addiction?
No, there's nothing. There's not even the free heroin that he was promised by, probably by his fever dreams of heroin. But
no, and everybody said that necklace of toes was all fucked up. Like, Big Joe, what's up with the toes? And he's like,
what are you talking about? These are baby teeth.
They weren't handing out medals.
Big Joe. Stop sucking on the toes, Big Joe. You're making the children uncomfortable, Big Joe.
It's a security blanket.
Not at the table, Big Joe.
It's fucked up. It's so gross. So, Big Joe actually was a truck driver as well for a while.
Aww. Man after your own heart.
To support bitch face. What's for the after?
Really?
They never give
bitch
you a
face.
name.
Is that what we're calling her? Bitch face?
Well, we are when you hear what the fuck dumb shit did.
Oh, okay. So it's warranted. Good.
Yeah. That wasn't just a slip of normal Chris that came out there. What the fuck is that bitch face? What the fuck is her name? Anyway, yeah, so he's working late one night, driving that truck. In 1994, July of 94, he comes home to find his house pretty much empty. Bitch face and kid gone. And a note that says that she left him, has been cheating on him pretty much, and left him for this dude that they both knew, who, and by the way, she also has quite the addiction. So Homeboy is
not
the supplier.
Not super surprising.
No. So Homeboy's the supplier. She took the kid and left and moved in with him. Wow.
And what makes Big Joe really upset is there was that one time where they were at the YMCA and they were taking a shower after their friendly heroin league basketball game, and and he saw a dude's penis, and it wasn't all that, I mean, it was nice.
The heroin league.
It was nice or whatever, but I mean, Big Joe had him on girth all day.
Big Joe.
So he's like,
summer sausage.
What the hell? Oh man, I had some summer sausage the other day. It was so good.
This fucking guy. The only reason he won is because he actually was helping to supply the dope.
Oh, see, that's where they get you. That's where they get you.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, and that's why they can get him to do all that crazy shit too.
That's right.
Such as
bum fights.
No, this is actually worse, being that she had a fucking child in the situation.
Oh,
now,
bum fights are just fun.
She wound up hooking and selling for him.
See, that's not fair to her. Why she got to do both? Can't she just do one?
Excuse me.
No.
No, because he's, I'm sure, very lazy.
Well, yeah, as most pimps and drug pushers are, but
right.
I mean, come on, it's bitch face we're talking about. You know
Doesn't
bitch
seem
face.
Like good. It doesn't seem like good business to me, though. Like good management to be super lazy when you only have one. Well, now, granted, they didn't actually say anything about him. He may have had others. He may have. But, I mean, in this case, let's just
assume that it was just bitch face. And she either had, like, the golden, or she they were just terrible at what they did, and they lived very poor and didn't sell any pussy or heroin.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the second one. They probably did all the damn heroin and didn't sell any pussy because they were fucking nodding off the whole damn time.
Indeed.
So, So, yeah, Big Joe's not happy about this shit. He's not happy at all. At one point, they get busted, and it seems like at this point, Big Joe was done with his whole thing after being disgusted by Bitchface and all this situation and stuff like that.
Well, good.
He's
I'm
upset
really-
about his kid.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. Like, I'm rooting for Big Joe. I mean, that
Yeah.
you wouldn't have started with Big Joe if we weren't supposed to root for Big Joe. So yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, in this case, yeah, in the beginning of our story, Big Joe is the protagonist.
Go get him, Joe
You
the
know.
Big.
Yeah, Bitchface is the antagonist in this case.
Mm.
So, yeah, they got busted. The kid got taken away and sent into foster care, which really, really upset good old Big Joe. And he went to court, tried to get custody. The courts denied him for whatever dumbass reason, and he got super mad and started to plot.
Like-
Dot.
Ah, okay. There was an ellipses there.
Their doom.
Ooh, man, you did that real well. I liked it.
Their ultimate doom.
Holy shit! Oh, and then a bad guy laugh.
So,
Oh, you're getting real good
What
at this whole
had
podcast, then,
happened?
Chris.
well, I'm trying. It's just a fucking repetition sort of thing, and
That's right.
I'm pretty
That's right.
comfortable with it at this point.
Mhm.
You've seen my nipples, I've seen yours. Everybody's happy. We
I
can get on.
don't
with
think
that.
anyone's happy with that at all. Mm-mm.
Okay, well, you're not happy then. Anyway, moving on.
Please.
So yeah, he started to plot, and so what had happened after that point was, he had gone down to this place, underneath this bridge where he knew that homeboy used to sell, and a lot of people be doing dope down there.
Why is Huggy Bear telling us this?
Well, because the situation was he knew what was up, so he went down there trying to find him,
Nice.
so that he could take care of some business. Now, it's you never know what exactly he thought he was going to do, but instead, what wound up happening was way worse. So he didn't actually find them. He questioned some people. He was looking. He didn't actually find them at all at this point. But being that he was so ready and now so upset by not being able to do what he set out to do, he found these two homeless junkies, and he proceeded to bludgeon the dog shit out of them and then chop them up
Ooh.
with an axe.
Ooh, his murder boner had to go somewhere, I guess.
He had to find a direction, but that wasn't it.
Oh,
now, you
God.
could call this a spree killer up until the point that, he, yeah.
Well, let's
Anyway.
get to that point through story.
So, yeah. Okay, so that day, he still is looking for them, and he goes back to underneath the bridge. He winds up talking to, he winds up getting drugs and luring this one, what he called in his own words, a crack whore. One who,
Whores for crack, yes.
self-explanatory. And he lures her away to interrogate her and get her high and stuff like that. When he finds out that she doesn't have any useful information, he beats her, rapes her, and kills her, drags her to the woods, where he had... Oh, sorry. He did that with two of them. My bad. My notes are a little jumbled at that point. He did that twice, so that's 4 people in one day. That's a pretty decent little spree. The dudes he chopped up, we don't know what he did with them at first, but the 2 girls, he threw one of them in a bush in the woods, and then when he took the second one back to throw her in the same bush, I don't know what the fuck he had with this bush, but he's doing that. He's in the process of doing that, and this fisherman, who's, I guess, pulling his boat up at somewhere, sees him and calls out like, "Hey, what the fuck are you doing?" So he
Fisherman,
looks
mind your
around
own
real
business
quick.
and run.
Big Joe, and Big Joe is a big dude.
Yeah, I'm not doubting that.
He finds this fucking steel bar and chases down the fisherman and cracks his shit wide open. So that's 5 in one day.
Big Joe, everything was looking up for you. Where did it all go so wrong, Big Joe?
His mission is, and he still has not caught Bitchface and Homeboy. So
I am no longer rooting for Big Joe, Chris.
yeah, Big Joe is not doing well right now for himself. He is, but he also has now run out of room in this bush. It may have been able to fit 2. It cannot fit 3. So he dumps all 3 of them in the water at this point.
Fuck it, why not?
Gets rid of the homeless dude parts as well, which 2.5 weeks later winds up being arrested because the police found some homeless dude parts chilling somewhere or floating somewhere or wherever. And they're like, "Hey, these don't belong here." So
These
I don't
never
know-
belong here.
I don't know exactly how they traced it back to Joe, but Joe got arrested in...
Let's just say Big Joe wrote his name on every piece.
Yeah, man, he
Property of
he
Big Joe.
signed, Yeah, he signed the skin before the cast, but after breaking their arms with axes, yeah, poor homeless dudes. So... Yeah,
you know what? As far as your comment of poor homeless dudes, I will quote the guy that I heard at the Circle K down the road earlier today. Get a job.
Okay, well, but at the same time, literally poor homeless dudes.
Yeah.
So I assume he's being held as prime suspect right now because he's detained. He's held in jail for 18 months before being released.
What?
Woohoo! Big Joe's released
Okay.
for lack of evidence
Wait,
tying him to homeless dude parts.
Oh, okay. Well,
because they found him in different places, so it was hard to tie cause of death, time of death, that type of shit. 2.5 weeks deterioration, all that kind of fun stuff. So lack of evidence. Big Joe is out and chilling, but he's still got a plot for the doom of Bitchface and Homeboy.
right, because he didn't just get away with 5 murders.
Right.
That you count your blessings and you move away.
Well, you count them by doing what his next thing.
Oh my God, what does he do next?
So he gets this job. He's working at this factory. And,
Someone gave him a job?
Well, they have to. Eventually, somebody's going to give him a job. They get kickbacks from the government for doing it. Certain places do. It's a giant factory that's in this little town or whatever. So, so he gets this job, and somehow he winds up living in a trailer on said factory's property at like the back end of the property where the little dirt road goes to, and it's in the cut, right? And nobody fucks with Big Joe. So Big Joe he's just back there doing Big Joe.
I bet Big Joe does Big Joe quite a bit.
He does, actually. He's yeah, but nobody else wants to do Big Joe with him when they find out what Big Joe does. So he, in this next little bit of time, he winds up getting 2 more of these smoking ladies of the night now back to his trailer on the factory property.
Okay, if we have any homeless crack whores that listen to the show, first question, how are you listening? That's confusing me. Second, not so much a question, more a suggestion. Do not, well, first of all, you meet a guy named Big Joe, walk away. That's it. Some guy walks up to you, he's giant, and he introduces himself as Big Anything, just walk away. You are in for a bad time. Second, if he brings you back, not just to a trailer, because they have nice trailers. I don't know. They have nice trailers. So,
They exist.
but if he brings you back to a trailer, that is tucked behind the grounds of a factory.
That makes a lot of noise.
Maybe. Well, I mean, I guess at that point it's too late. So,
Yeah, it kinda is.
you know what? Just aim for the balls and hope you can run faster than he can stand up from a ball punch.
It's gonna be bad if you don't run fast. It's gonna be bad.
Thanks for listening, Crack Whores.
Yeah. I mean, well, I imagine they have to have phones because beepers are out now, and nobody really wants to hand a crack whore their phone to use to call her pimp anyway. So they kind of have to. That's kind of like part of the
gets all
whole
sticky. Ugh.
taking care of them package.
Okay, so what does Big Joe do in this fucking infamous, now in my head, trailer?
Well, he does the same thing that he did to the other two, but instead now he has a taste for blood, so he decides to go a little further and chops them up, and he puts them in Tupperware containers and puts them in the fridge.
I mean, that seems like a logical progression of
Lunacy?
of batshit. Yeah, that's.
Right.
I mean, that's certainly the next step. The next step would be to start fucking the body parts that are in the Tupperware before he cooks them to eat them. But
Yeah,
I don't.
that would
I
have
don't-
been so cool.
Really, Chris? We're
If
talking about
he would have
real
admitted to
human
something like
beings.
that, I mean, for the sake of this story, not for real, for real.
No, that would have been pretty cool.
So, yeah, so he,
terrible, man. We're bad
he,
people, Chris.
we're terrible people, for sure. For sure. I'm not condoning any of this behavior. I'm just
Oh.
saying, for the sake of telling this awful story to you people who want to hear an awful fucking story, because you're terrible like us,
Let's just
which we
hope-
love you, by the way.
Let's just hope that all of our listeners aren't just feds, just waiting to strike.
Ugh. Well, we don't do these things, but I think I met one recently. I can't divulge the location.
Okay, we're gonna have to save that for another day because you're coming up on a half hour, and I want to know what Big Joe does.
Oh, my bad. Okay, so yeah, Big Joe discards the parts he doesn't need in the woods behind the trailer, on the property or right off the property or whatever. But he then turns around, still never having caught Bitchface and Homeboy. He turns around and opens up a barbecue stand, and Big Joe sells sandwiches to
Oh no!
probably people at the factory that he works with, people
Oh,
in the
no.
neighborhood.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh, no.
People like Big Joe sandwiches. And he even makes mention to the people that he uses a special blend of
no.
special meat
Oh,
in
no.
with everything.
No!
He also makes mention after, during his confessions that the special meat tastes very similar to pork. So
This is the dude that you hinted to on the People Pickler episode, isn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, that tells investigators that there's a good chance he tried his own product, taste testing most likely, just to make sure he was putting out something that the people would actually eat. But then he wound up running out of special meat and deciding to go and he had to re-up his stock.
Hey man, it's
right?
supply and demand.
Apparently there was a demand.
Oh, good lord, Big Joe.
Awful, right?
Big Joe.
So he grabbed one more, the smoking lady of the night, brought her back, and this is where Big Joe does just the most amazing thing ever. He does the classic cartoon supervillain confessing your whole fucking evil plot and all that shit and everything you've done already before turning his back on her. And she escapes.
Oh, you lucky crack whore.
Seriously, which promptly, obviously, brings the police around, and they find the scattered parts in different holes as well. So different parts of the same person in different holes with other parts of another person and stuff. So they're degrading differently, and they can't tie him to everybody. They can only tie him to two. But they convict him for two. and he's on death row, which then gets overturned in 2004. So now he's just rotting in a normal, regular cell for life. But he did make mention, though, that there's something about the power that you get when you take another person's life, as well as his last statement on record. His last statement was to, if you ever see, like a barbecue stand or a little burger freestanding burger thing that somebody, regular dude, owns, just pop up out of nowhere, be careful where that meat comes from.
Yes,
he's on record saying that.
Indeed. Holy shit, Big Joe. Holy shit, Big Chris.
Joe.
That was awesome. Oh shit. That was a roller coaster ride, man.
Wasn't it?
Oh my god. Dude,
he went at it.
I am tearing up. That was so fucking amazing. Oh.
So he's like a spree killer and a serial killer and like I don't know, because he did rape a little bit and he did, he tasted it, so I guess there's a little bit of cannibalism in there.
Yeah, man, he's a little bit of everything, isn't he? He's a jack of all trades. Joe of all trades.
Joe of all trades. I love
that's
it.
what it is now. We're changing it. We're taking it back.
I love it.
Oh my god. Okay, so
sorry it took so long. Though.
Intermission music. Do 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 do. All right, so we're back.
Hey,
and now it's time for Jason's segment. And if Jason's the one that came up with this is going to be pretty bad. So
man. He's our anchor, as we call it in bowling. Jason's the anchor. He's the one who knocks it home for the team.
But dude, what a setup, Chris. That was fucking great. I really enjoyed the story of Big Joe a lot, actually.
Thank you. I thought you might.
Thank you, man. So this is the story of Catherine Mary Knight, who was, let's just say, without telling you why, is the first Australian woman to be sentenced to life imprisonment without parole.
No possibility of ever being released into the public ever again.
No chance ever. So
that's a beautiful segue, automatic, like just right off top.
So this lady here, she let's just go ahead and say she had anger problems. She was also kind of a hoe. I don't feel bad calling her a hoe because she's also just the worst.
Oh no, she gets it. She's gonna get it.
So she had just like a bunch of kids with a bunch of dudes. Just real quick, okay. She married this dude, David Kellett. She first met her hard-drinking coworker in '73 and completely dominated him. That should tell you what kind of woman this was. The night that they got married, well, first of all, they drove up to the wedding service on her motorcycle with an extremely intoxicated Kellett riding on back. So, Knight's mother tells Kellett on their wedding day, old girl said, this is what Kellett says the mom said. The old girl said to me to watch out. You better watch this one or she'll fucking kill you. Stir her up the wrong way or do her the wrong thing and you're fucked. Don't ever think of playing up on her. She'll fucking kill you. And that
you gotta love a mom like that.
Oh, and that was her mother talking. She told me she got something loose. She's got a screw loose somewhere. So
fucking A.
On
you know
their
what though?
No,
okay. So
do it.
This story really reminds me of the episode of Family Guy where Quagmire got that girlfriend.
Yes, the abusive one, the sad episode where it's not
totally
really sad because
happened.
everyone hates Quagmire.
No, this totally could have happened to Quagmire.
Oh, so it gets better. Oh God, does it ever get better? So on their wedding night, she tried to strangle him. She explained because her new husband had fallen asleep after only having intercourse 3 times.
Oh.
So what would be a wonderful evening for most people? Some say exceptional. Was strangle worthy for this lady.
Jesus.
Strangle-worthy.
Well, I'm out of the running. I don't have stamina like that.
See,
Fuck
I don't.
it.
I don't have the overall distance, but I have the like if it were a baton race and like I was holding every baton, that's me.
No, I need time to reload. I need like time to reload.
Well, see, not me. I but being in love, who can say? So this lady here, she had a penchant for smacking dudes that she was involved with in the head with frying pans.
Wow. Were they cast iron or just
it
general
just says
nonstick?
frying pan, so let's just go ahead and let our imaginations run wild there, Chris.
Fucking A.
So, she basically beat her new husband half to death because he had arrived home late from a darts tournament that his team had gone to like the finals at. That's why he was late. So she beat him in the head with a frying pan. The dude fled and then collapsed in front of their neighbor's house and was later treated for severely fractured skull.
Yeah.
But Knight then like sweet talked her way into having Kellett drop the charges. So
I'm sure it was a sweet talk.
long story short, in this, she tries to kill him again. He runs away. Then, because they had a baby together. I skipped that part. It's really not.
You're
important.
still fucking her?
It's
What?
really not important. So they had a baby together before she finally tried to kill him for the last time. So he moved to Queensland just because he could not deal with this fucking crazy. The next day, Knight was seen pushing her new baby down the street in a stroller, violently throwing it from side to side.
Oh.
So she was admitted to, St. Elmo's Hospital. St. Elmo's Fire. You know what? Is that a movie or just a song? How do I know that? Why is that a thing in my head? Is it?
Yeah.
It was an 80s thing?
Yeah.
How have I not seen it? Is it any good?
Because it's like some
Is Molly
adult,
Ringwald in it?
sappy, fucking like grown-up drama.
Oh, fuck that noise.
The St. Elmo's Fire is actually a bunch of different shit. It's an aerial phenomenon. It's a hospital.
Oh yeah, I just said it. She was anyway. So they diagnosed her with postnatal depression.
That's what'll make you do that.
And she spent several weeks recovering, even though she was fucking insane before the baby. So after she was released, she then took her 2-month-old baby Melissa and placed her on a railway line shortly before the train was due. She then left, stole an axe, went into town, and threatened to kill people.
Baby Melissa just chilling on the train track?
Oh, but here's the
Well,
hero.
she's threatening people with an axe.
Here's the hero of the story. A man known in the district as Old Ted, who was foraging near the railway line, found and rescued Melissa. By all
At least
accounts...
it wasn't Big Joe.
Oh, god damn. Yes, let's all thank Old Ted that
Yeah.
he's not Big Joe.
Thanks, Ted.
But he rescued her like right before the train came. He's like a hero that looks like a prospector. I'm
Like,
guessing.
hey, this
He's
baby
like, there's
doesn't belong
babies
here.
on that track. The babies.
Now I'm picturing Don Knotts, damn it.
Oh man, I do a terrible Don Knotts too. That was just an accident. So they put her back into St. Elmo's Hospital. But then she signed herself out the following day.
Nice.
Then, this is kind of important. Knight was a cook, a chef, and she had this really super sweet set of knives that she really fucking loved. Like she used to hang them over her bed, just because she loved her fucking knives so much. So
That's not weird
that's
at
a good
all.
sign, and it's not going to come back to haunt anyone, Chris. So
sure.
she signed herself out the following day. A few days later, she proceeds to slash the face of a woman with one of her knives and demand that she drive her to Queensland to find her cheating ass ex-husband.
Holy shit.
Yes, the woman escapes after they stopped at a gas station where Knight took a young boy hostage and was threatening to kill him with a knife. You know what's crazy? Is that all of this crazy fucking nonsense that she's pulling, none of this has to do with why I'm telling the story. Not a single bit of it. I'm just setting the picture of holy fucking this chick crazy. So
Of just how crazy she really is, and you still won't expect
no,
what's coming.
Oh, it's bad. She was disarmed when police attacked her with brooms.
What?
She was then taken to a psychiatric hospital where she
Wait,
told...
wait. Where is this?
This is in Australia.
In Australia?
Yeah.
Are the police witches, or do they
Apparently.
do they have a special holster for a broom?
I'm not from Australia. I don't know. Maybe that's like, instead of the shotgun in the squad car, there's just a broom there.
I'm saying, like, when they like pull up, sirens blaze into a scene, and they like have
lock
to run
and load,
around to
like
the to the back of the car to get like what in America would be a fucking shotgun
Or assault
and
rifle,
some-
or...
and they're gonna grab like a push broom and start screwing it together, start screwing the handle on and shit, or like what, a shop vac and some stuff.
Okay, so they put her in a hospital, right? She told nurses that she was going to kill the mechanic there because he had repaired Kellett's car, her ex-husband, and that had allowed him to leave her. So, all you car mechanics out there, just, I guess, stop repairing cars, because you never know who you're allowing to leave a crazy person that's going to come try and kill you with a knife.
Yeah, and then him.
So, basically, they just, that's the end of that, because there's nothing really much, a whole lot better there. So, next is David Saunders. She met the 38-year-old Saunders in 1986. A few months later, he moved in with her and her two daughters. He kept his old apartment, and she didn't really dig that. So she would throw him out, he'd come back. She'd throw him out, he'd come back. She'd throw him out, she would cut the throat of his 2-month-old dingo puppy in front of him for no more reason than an example of what would happen if he ever had an affair.
What the fuck?
Before going on to knock him unconscious with a frying pan.
These poor... I'm just like, what... These poor daughters, man. What the fuck?
So, in June of
They gotta
88...
deal with.
In June of 88, she gave birth to her third daughter, Sarah, which prompted Saunders to put a deposit on a house. Because he's like...
Wait. I'm sorry. Did they give the train track baby back to her?
Yes, Chris. Jesus. She was suffering from
Oh my God, Australia.
postnatal stuff and things,
Oh my God.
Hey,
Australia.
you know what? At the end of this story, Australia's the real hero.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Let's go with that.
So they got a house, right? She then proceeded to decorate the house, like completely, like walls, ceiling, floors, with animal skins, skulls, horns, rusty
And
animal traps,
buttholes.
leather jackets, old boots, machetes, rakes, and pitchforks.
Holy shit.
So, after an argument where she hit her husband in the face with an iron before stabbing him in the stomach with a pair of scissors, he moved back to his apartment. But he had
Good
later
idea.
returned home, and she had cut up all his clothes, which is the least fucking crazy thing this lady has done.
Yeah.
Their story kind of ends with her putting out a bogus, it's called an AVO because she was afraid of him. It's an apprehend violence order, which means that, if he had done something, or even gone, it's like a restraining order, but like arrest immediately because violent restraining order.
Gotcha.
Then we have a real quick John Chillingworth, who in 1990 Knight became pregnant by, and gave birth the following year to a boy named Eric.
What
I
do
don't
you
even know why I
know?
said his name. Doesn't matter. Their relationship lasted 3 years before she left him for a man that she had been having an affair with for some time.
Oh.
That man's name is John Price. So, this is where our real story begins.
Poor John Price.
Like, as a matter of fact, you could just go ahead and forget everything I just told you. Because
Yeah.
nothing that I just told you compares in any way whatsoever to what I'm about to tell you.
That's pretty. Yeah.
So, John Charles Thomas Price was born January 6th, 1955. That
He had
just
three
seems to
first
be a good
names?
year. Yeah, John Charles Thomas. Yeah.
It's a little excessive, don't you think?
You know, if you're gonna do something right, you just fucking go all out and do it, man.
Yeah, I suppose so. All right.
So he was the father of 3 children when he and Knight had an affair. He was supposedly a quote-unquote terrific bloke. I had to throw quotes there because I don't usually say bloke in regular company. I tend to save that for my closest BFFs.
Gotcha.
So
that's now 7 kids in a situation
not
with
yet.
this
I mean,
one crazy fucking bitch.
so everybody loved John. Everybody loved John. His own marriage had ended in '88, and while his 2-year-old daughter stayed with his former wife, the 2 older children did live with him. He was, how could he not be? He was well aware of Knight's violent reputation. But she moved into his house in 1995. His kids liked her. He was making like a bunch of money working at the local mines. They did have like some pretty serious violent arguments, but like life was fucking pretty grand at first. Then in 1998, they had a fight over his refusal to marry her. She had videotaped items he had stolen from work and then sent that videotape to his boss.
Jesus.
But, I mean, the items were out-of-date medical kits that he scavenged from the garbage. But he was still fired from the job he had held for 17 years because of it.
Damn.
Yeah. So the same day, he kicked her ass out, and she returned to her own house. But everybody started talking because that shit's fucked up.
Yeah.
And that shit ain't right. So, for some strange, goddamn, you were out of it, man. You could have just. So a few months later, he restarts the relationship. Although now he said, "No, you can't live here. No." Because even though his penis was lonely, his brain was like, fuck that shit, buddy. So
Boys,
the fighting became...
Don't let your penis dictate everything that you do.
Dictate, penis, I get it.
Okay.
The fighting got way worse, and most of his friends wouldn't even have anything to do with him anymore because of her.
Well,
so
yeah.
now we get to the nitty-gritty, the meat of the story, if you will.
That's gross, Jason.
In February of 2000, a series of assaults on Price culminated with Knight stabbing Price in the chest. For some reason, finally fed up, he kicked her out.
That's all it took.
Yeah. On February
easy.
29th, he stopped at the Scone Magistrates Court on his way to work and took out a restraining order in an attempt to keep her away from both him and his kids. That afternoon, he told his coworkers that if he didn't come to work the next day, it would be because she had killed him. They pled with him not to go home, but I mean, he said that he believed that she would kill his children if he didn't go home, which that's a valid fucking fear. But
How ominous.
But you know
Hell
what
yeah.
you do is you take your kids with you wherever the hell you go that day. You don't leave them home.
Sure.
So
You don't leave them home, and when you do go home, you go home with a fucking helmet and goddamn armor. If you're really that afraid of this fucking bitch, you go home with, prepared. Be a goddamn, damn. I mean...
No,
man.
I get you, goddamn. I get it. No, believe me, because I know what happens here. So,
Yeah.
he gets home, right? And, he, just to find her. Well, wait. She wasn't there yet. But she was there prior. And she had sent the children away to a sleepover at a friend's house.
Luckily.
He then, thinking, okay, maybe, maybe she's okay. You never know. She could change a heart and stuff. He then goes to just hang out with his neighbors, just for the night, just chilling at the neighbor's house.
Mm-hmm.
And then he gets home to go to bed at around 11 p.m. So earlier that day, she had bought some new black lingerie, which, when you see a picture of this lady, is not an enticing proposition. And she had videotaped all of her children while making comments which have since been interpreted as a crude will. I don't know what to make of that. I guess she videotaped her kids saying stuff, and that was her way of making a video will. But
when I die, I'm gonna give you this, and
I really I want to watch it, but I don't so bad. I want to watch it because I want to understand it better. But I'm willing to leave that a mystery in my head. So she later arrived at his house while he was sleeping. She sat and watched TV for a few minutes. Then she had a shower. She then woke him up. They had sex. After which, he fell asleep. So, this guy is A, a loser, or B, the loneliest man in the world, or C, just a ridiculous nymphomaniac that just cannot say no. Because when crazy bitch that stabbed me in the goddamn chest earlier that day, or the day before, shows up at my house unannounced, I'm not gonna have sex with her.
in the middle of the goddamn night? Hell no.
She wakes me up in bed, in black lingerie, still not gonna have sex with her.
Just got me fired and all this other shit? No, fuck all that.
So, at 6 a.m. the next day, the neighbors started to become a little concerned that his car was still in the driveway. When he didn't arrive at work, his employer sent a worker to see what the fuck. Both the neighbor and the worker, they tried knocking on the door, tried knocking on the bedroom window. Then they noticed blood on the front door. They called the cops. The cops got there at 8 a.m. They broke down the back door, and police found his body with our wonderful Mrs. Knight comatose from taking a huge number of pills. She had stabbed him with a butcher's knife while he was sleeping, and according to the blood evidence, he woke up from this, tried to switch the light on, and then tried to run away. She chased him through the house. He did manage to open the front door and get outside, but he either stumbled backwards from, I don't know, butcher knife in the chest, or
Yeah, that might do it.
or that's where he just lost consciousness and she dragged him back in. So she dragged him into the hallway, where he died after bleeding out. So after killing him, she goes to Aberdeen and withdraws $1,000 from his ATM account. His autopsy revealed that he'd been stabbed at least 37 times in both the front and back of his body, with many of the wounds extending into vital organs. quite a few hours after he died, she then skinned him and hung the skin from a meat hook.
That part.
She then decapitated him and cooked parts of his body. She served the meat up with baked potato, pumpkin, beetroot, zucchini, cabbage, yellow squash, and gravy.
Oh. This is entirely too many vegetables. There was no starch in that
pumpkin.
plate. Oh no, you said potatoes. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There's still too many vegetables.
You know, still. And she plates these meals in 2 settings at the dinner table, along with notes beside each plate, each having the name of each of his children on it. She was preparing to serve his body parts to his fucking children. A third meal was actually made, but for some reason, which is still completely unknown, was thrown on the back lawn. It's speculated that she tried it and just couldn't do it. So yeah, but his head was found in a pot with vegetables, the pot being still warm and estimated to be at between 104 and 102 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh, that's not warm enough to...
Indicating that the cooking had taken place earlier that morning.
Oh, so it's cooled at this point. That is gross. Yeah. I remember seeing this documentary, and the cops who arrived at the scene at first, they were talking about having walked into this whole scenario, and the one cop said he walked down the hall and he brushed past something that was hanging up.
And it was the skin.
Yeah, it was just like a blanket or a towel or something. And then he felt his arm was wet and looked down and it was blood. And then he realized what that was.
Oh, goddamn, dude. I just got like the full body shivers. Like, I felt like I had the flu for a second.
But do you have any idea how skillful a person has to be to do that?
She loved those knives more than any one or thing else in her life. Let me finish super quick, and then we'll talk about the absolute human depravity it takes. Sometime later, after all of the cutting and cooking, she arranged his body with his left arm draped over an empty 1 1/4 liter soft drink bottle. I don't know what 1.25 liters are, but soft drink bottle with his legs crossed.
Maybe?
It was claimed in court to be an act of defilement, demonstrating Knight's contempt for Price. I don't get the message, so try harder next time, lady. So she'd left a handwritten note on top of a photograph of this dude. It was bloodstained and covered with small pieces of flesh. The note read, should I do my terrible Australian accent for this?
No. Oh man, do we have any fans in Australia?
I don't know if they're fans. We've got people that listen. This might turn them off, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Okay.
I'm going to fucking laugh the whole time. Time got you back for... Wait, fuck, I can't fucking do it. Okay. Time got you back, Jonathan, for raping my daughter. No, see, I can't. You fucked with me too much. Time got you back, Jonathan, for rapping, which, you know, in parentheses, raping, my daughter, which in parentheses, daughter. You to Beck, which is his daughter. For Ross, for Little John, who is his son. Now play with Little John's dick, John Price. Let me read that without all the parentheses in proper English. Time got you back, Jonathan, for raping my daughter. You to Beck, for Ross, for Little John. Now play with Little John's dick, John Price.
What the fuck does any of that mean?
Not a fucking clue, but the accusations that he had raped anyone were found to be just completely fucking groundless and false. So,
Wow.
real quick to the trial, because this episode's going longer than I wanted it to. Manslaughter was rejected. She was arraigned on March 2nd, 2001, with the charge of murder. She said not guilty. And then her trial was initially supposed to be July 23rd, 2001, but was adjourned due to her counsel's illness and reset for October 15th, 2001. Well, when it recommenced, the judge offered 60 jury prospects the option of being excused due to the nature of the crazy fucking graphic photographic evidence.
Ugh, I can't even imagine what those photos look like.
5 of them said, okay, I would rather not do this. Then they went through the witnesses. Several more dropped out, at a time. Her attorneys spoke to the judge, who adjourned to the following day. The next morning, Knight changed her plea to guilty, and the jury was dismissed. It was made public that Justice O'Keefe had been advised of the plea change the day before. He had adjourned the trial, then ordered a psychiatric assessment overnight to determine if she understood the consequences of a guilty plea and was fit to make such a plea. Her legal team had planned to defend her by claiming amnesia and disassociation, a claim supported by most psychiatrists, although they did consider her sane. 2 different psychiatrists concluded that she suffered from borderline personality disorder. So no reason has ever been given for the guilty plea. Even though she pled guilty, she still refuses to accept responsibility for doing it.
So no confession?
None. At the sentencing, her lawyers request that she be excused so she doesn't hear some of the grisly facts. But, yeah, they were like, can she maybe be excused? Like, she's sensitive and, like, all this nastiness is just really going to upset her.
Oh. Well,
they refused. She had to stay.
Thankfully.
She then became hysterical and had to be sedated. Basically, she's got... Okay. So Justice O'Keefe pointed out that the nature of the crime and her complete and utter lack of remorse required a severe penalty. He sentenced her to life in prison. He refused to fix a non-parole period, and he ordered that her papers be marked never to be released. The first time ever that this has been imposed on a woman in Australian history. On June of 2006, she appealed the life sentence, claiming that being there without possibility of parole for her entire fucking life was too severe for killing Mr. Price.
And skinning and beheading and dismembering.
Oh, come on now.
Cooking.
All she did was murder one man.
Just
God.
one.
And try to feed him to his kids, whatever.
And attempted to kill like 3 or 4 other people.
So bad. So, but they just flat out dismissed the appeal. Just saying, this was an appalling crime. It was almost beyond contemplation in a civilized society. Motherfuck. The end.
Seriously. She's lucky they gave her a professional response.
Oh, it should have just been, nah, bitch. You stay.
Nah, bitch. Yeah.
So, Chris.
My goodness.
What'd you think of our first episode of the year?
I like this one a lot. I really did. I love her story. I think
Same.
It's so intense.
Wait, when I can go into more detail of her, because really, she's got no fucking excuse for acting that way.
She's
Like,
got a fucking excuse.
No, fuck that shit. I swear to God, Chris, I will.
There is no excuse for acting that way. There's no excuse other than a chemical or physiological, psychological.
They had her.
fucking-
They had her so many times. They just. Oh,
man.
you're better now. See ya.
Man, maybe that's how we should like structure. Not really so much structure, but like maybe that's how we should do our killer episodes. Is like, hey, here's another guy that fucking could have been caught about 10 times before he actually was. Or, hey, we're going to tell you about how the cops fucked up. Bad.
Well, see, that's most episodes is the cops fucking up bad.
Right? So, I don't know. I don't know if we should, like, put them in that kind of category or...
You know what I did really dig about this episode though, is even though and oddly enough, both of our stories involve cooking people, murdering, chopping up, cooking people, unintended. Swear to God,
It's
unintended.
completely unintended.
But it's a happy accident in my book. But what I really dig about it is that see, like, I didn't get, it was fast paced, man. It was like it was fun. It was interesting. It didn't slow down. I didn't have time to get super duper sad.
True.
I didn't have time to get attached to the characters.
Big
give
Joe
a
was
shit.
kind of lovable in the beginning.
He was, and like I said, I genuinely rooted for Big Joe, and I think,
in the beginning.
and I really think Big Joe didn't just let me down. I think he let us all down, Chris.
he had potential in the beginning to be a very loving father and husband and just a hard-working Joe.
I just, it's Chris.
Shit, he even liked feeding the people.
You've just listened to another riveting episode of See No, Hear No, Speak No.
Oh, lucky you guys didn't get to hear any mice with tubas. But the UFOs, conspiracies, and at least the murders we got a
and
hold of.
Just really cooking people this episode.
Cooking people.
There's just so much cooking people.
Oh, my goodness.
Man. Oh,
Yeah, so, I mean,
so
barbecue
hungry.
barbecue is yummy, and it really sounds good right now. I'm not really so much in the mood for a stew, though.
does anybody else want some pork?
I'm down.
Just some really rare pork.
Blood sausage? Awful.
And countdown 3, 2, 1. Night, kids.
Night. Happy New Year, by the way. Happy motherfucking New Year.
Nothing compares.